I'm going to present a method that allows you to extend a video generated from an image, which is usually 8 seconds long. I'll use KAI.AI because they offer VEO3 fast version at an affordable price. But you can also use FAL.AI or any other tool that has an API for generating videos from images. I'm using VEO3 because it can also generate audio over the video, including voice. You'll also need NCA Toolkit or an FFmpeg service, for example randy.dev, but I'm going to use NCA Toolkit as it's more convenient for me. I'll use an interior image generated with Midjourney a few days ago, and I'll teach the AI to think like an architect. What I need to mention from the start is that my solution should be adapted to each person's needs. This is just an idea of how you can extend an 8-second video to 10 minutes. However, in the film industry, sequences of 4 to 8 or maybe 10 seconds are normally used, after which the shots are changed, for example from wide view to close shot. You never use a 1-minute continuous video, but since there are requests from people wanting to generate longer videos, such as 1 minute, 10 minutes, etc., this workflow can be modified and adapted. I've shown you in the screenshot what the result looks like. Now I'll show you what each node does and explain how it could be modified for other scenarios. Let's get started. I started with a manual trigger, but this should usually be replaced by another node of the webhook type. In this node, I added an initial JSON, in which I included the image link, image name, initial prompt, and step number 1. Since we're starting with step 1, just as important is loop equal x, which indicates how many times we will generate the video. For example, VEO3 fast generates an 8-second video. So for 40 seconds, we set the loop to 5. This is a set node, mainly used to retrieve the initial details from the trigger, and later, as we enter the loop, to fetch the new data. It's a pretty important node. If you have additional data, those should be added here as well. Things are pretty simple here. In KAI.AI, you need to add the URL in a special node, which uploads the file to their server. Then, in the next node, you normally use that image. In the video creation node, everything is straightforward. You've probably seen this before. We send the text, image, model, and optionally the video size. We receive a task number, and in the next step, we wait for it. Usually a few minutes, 2, 3, sometimes 4, depending on the provider, until the video is generated. Until then, there's a loop made up of a wait node and a task check node. We check, in the IF node, whether the video has been generated. If the answer is yes, we move on. At this point, we reach the node where we use NCA Toolkit. Or you can use any other service you have at hand with FFmpeg. We read the generated file's data to find out how many seconds it has, and also check the number of frames, 24 frames per second in our case, meaning there are 24 frames per second. This means that if we need the last frame, we multiply the number of seconds by the FPS and subtract 1, because frame numbering starts at 0. This way, we get the last frame, which we extract in the next node, again using FFmpeg. The output from this node will give us a JPG file. Normally at this point, we could stop and write to a database, Google Sheet, or any other solution, where we save the initial prompt, the MP4 file URL, and the JPG URL. From here, if you want to create the prompt manually, depending on what you received in the video and which is the last frame, you can automate the process this way. Normally, I recommend this approach for better control. The idea is to have the last frame, so you can continue from there. You can also consider a scenario where you generate a second video, using the extracted JPG frame. But between the two sequences, you insert another video to change the dynamics. So you could have video 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, and in between, insert other scenes. The important thing is to have a place from which you can continue, if needed. In my example, I went further just to show how the rest of the process can be automated. In the next node, we send the image to OpenAI to have it describe the last frame in detail, so we can automate the process. After we receive the response, we send the text to OpenAI again to add movement to the frame. I asked for something minimal, thinking like an architect or a filmmaker. From here, things are relatively simple. We collect all the data in a set node to make it easier to work with them. I also added loop and step number, with step number increasing at each iteration of the loop. Normally, after this, we add some details in Google Sheet. Here, I haven't implemented deleting all rows from Google Sheet except the header. So for now, it has to be cleaned manually after each run. You could add a node to reset the Excel file, or you could add a field with a unique. In the last IF node, we check whether the step number is greater than the loop number. If it is, we move on to concatenating the videos. If not, we go back into the loop and continue with the new data. Concatenation is optional. You can manually edit if you want to be more creative, or you can just go with the automated result. After concatenation, you will have a final video with a length of number of steps times 8 seconds. I hope this workflow is helpful for you. Normally, I would make it modular, split into separate parts, but that would be in an environment controlled by me. For demonstration purposes, I've put everything linearly, so you can have a clearer vision of what can be done. Good luck building your workflows.